What's happening, GD Nation? Hey, Zach Edwards here with week 3 of the game design course. That's right, we've gotten through 3 weeks, and now we're going to get into talking about the design of the game. The first 2 weeks, we wanted to find out why you were doing this. Because if you're not doing it for stronger reasons, I'm not going to say good reasons or bad reasons. If you're not doing it for strong reasons, a good foundation, then it's probably not going to last. And you're going to get frustrated. And you're going to basically put the things to the side and waste time designing. And then when there's the first critique, you're not going to enjoy it and it'll be over with. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that you're going to be in it the whole time and be excited about it and just having fun, or have a cause that's going to be pushing you into it or keeping you going. So week 2, we talked about how we wanted to find out what your desires were. Who are you in game design and gameplay? We have to find out who you are before we find out who your customers are. And that was the assignment over the weekend. So over the week that we were not talking, you're supposed to be looking through and trying to figure out what your customer avatar is like. And the way I made you look at it is you're supposed to picture this one person, whoever it is, and picture them as an actual person. That's who is going to be playing your game. So when you think about, oh yeah, this person's going to like this or that, you can actually say, okay, I'm visualizing this person. It's a fictional person, does not have to be an actual person. Visualizing this person, that's what the person wants. And you're going to see movements, you're going to see personalities in this person. Again, fictional person, but he helps you understand what your avatar, what your player wants. So when I went through this whole thing with you, I actually showed you what I had produced. And this week, I'm going to show you week 3's assignments and how I made them as well. So going into the course, so again, here's week 3. This one, we're going to be talking about F&R Lockwood and designing your game. Now, F&R Lockwood, you might not know, not many people know, this is actually the first board game ever designed and ever published in the United States around 1822. The great thing about this is that this was the game that basically started off in the United States. And for a long time, people didn't even give it credit for being the first game that was designed in the United States or published in the United States. It was actually that honor was given to a game called The Mansion of Happiness. And so this is one myth that has been debunked. This is actually done by F&R Lockwood. Now, not much is known by F&R Lockwood, except that they produced multiple games about geography. And they're actually teaching people about geography. Now, this is the cool thing. So in this game, you'll actually read down in this section about the last 3 editions of this game. That's right. There are only 3 copies of this game throughout the world. 1 is in the New York Public Library. 2 is at Brigham Young University. And 3 is the University of Michigan. So, and the first 2 are complete sets. The third one is missing a piece. It's missing its slipcase. Okay, but during this time, in the packaging of this game, you'll actually see that there were multiple games described in here by F&R Lockwood. Again, not much is known by them. Nobody knows why. There's just no history that was written about those designers. Sorry, my laptop's acting up again. Okay, so now going forward, this is something really important to know because this is going to give you a real-life application. This is the real-life application. It said creating this, F&R Lockwood created this game because they knew their customers. They tailored their game to support the travelers and those curious of seeing their own country and others around the world. Whom do you serve? Okay, so Lockwood actually made it so that he was somewhat promoting the interests of traveling the world, because he actually has one that's called the Traveler's Tour through Europe, and this one's the Traveler's Tour through the United States. And so in that one, in the Europe one, you can actually go to all these different places, and if you look carefully, you'll see lines in here. There are actually 139 stops that your piece can go. And when you hit a certain spot, you actually have to describe certain things about it. One, giving the city's name. And one of the reasons why At least this is the myth behind it, or the question behind it. The reason why there's no names on the actual board is not as much trivia as much as they were still changing at this time. Look, Louisiana Purchase was just recently purchased. Okay, so it's a little bit farther back, but look at all the states that were just being added on. All these cities were changing, and so Lockwood, when he produced this, he had a bottom section. So you only see half the board here. There's another half under here that was actually giving the descriptions of all these places. And they had, I'm guessing, yes, this is an assumption, that the information down there was on the other half of the game because it could have changed. This game could have evolved more and more each time. But it was also to promote learning geography. And not in an educational sense that they played it in school, but everyone played it. Well, not everyone, but the hope was that everyone would play it. Okay, so Lockwood knew his customers, a little educational and also the curious of what other places in the world were like. So what are we going to use that information with? So last week, we found out about your avatar. We found out who he was, the actual build of that person, the fictional person that we're going to base this game that we're designing off of their likes. So today we're going to be talking about their actual likes when it comes to gaming. So in this section, it's a compare and contrast. It's not much of a compare and contrast, but more of finding information about them. So what game and medium do you agree? Okay. So yeah, this is basically, do you agree on the medium that you're going to be using and what your avatar is going to be using? What would he like or she like? Would she or he go for a card game, board game, video game, tabletop? Now you're supposed to answer these questions as well, because this will give you a lock-in if the customer avatar is going to work for you. Because if you're going to have this avatar, you're going to want to know the person's likes, but also your likes. And if your avatar does not like what you like, that's the wrong person. Now, funny enough, this person is a fictional person that you put together. So hopefully they match up. I mean, hopefully there's similarities. Hopefully it's not a person that's like complete opposite of you. And then all of a sudden you're designing a game for someone that doesn't like the kind of games you like. That would make no sense, right? Okay, doesn't make much sense to me. But the next one, what game length do you agree on? Okay, so do you want a 10-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, or 3 hours? So, and as you can see, I've actually done this in your game design journal. You'll actually see that these are actually written out. And again, the journal, the reason for the journal is because every time you design a game, you can get a new journal. We won't go there. You can get a new journal and be able to write down all that information for that journal. So in this one, I want to know about my customer avatar for this game. And so these are specific to the games I'm going to be designing for this time, for actually this game design course. So I want to know all these different parts and pieces of what my avatar would like, because if they match up with mine, I know we're going to get along very well. My avatar and myself. Again, he's fictional, but hey, you know what? It works. Anyways, so I say that I want an hour is optimal for the time the game lasts. The next one is, what is the topic would your avatar like? Zombies, money, those type of things. I said game design. So there you go. The game that I'm designing for your graduation gift is actually on game design. How cool is that? So you're going to actually walk through this whole process, but in game form. So all the information that you're learning now will actually be reproduced into this board game that you can play with other friends, especially those that want to design their own game. And you can put together your own game as you're going through this process. And by the end of the game, you can actually figure out if your customers or your customer avatar would actually like that game. Okay, so going to the next one. So I said, number 4, I said it needs to be detailed background. So in your game design journal, it's going to talk about the background of the game. Do you want the board to be very detailed, or do you want it to be very simple? Like Scrabble is a very simple concept. Not really Settlers. I'm trying to think of some of the newer games. The trend is going so that there's more epicness to games. There's more details in the production of the board. So you'll actually see more artistry, more illustrations, those type of things. Okay, going to number 5. Are they interested in adventure games or party games, like social games? I would say I want to do an adventure game. I want to do it's almost an adventure game, like the game of life, where you're going to go through this path and try to find, you're going to find pitfalls. You're going to find different problems with your games. All these things will come up. Huge bills. And these are all coming from actual experience. So these are things that myself or my partners have all experienced. And so you're going to be able to go through that whole adventure. How about the complexity of the game? So I said medium complexity. We want a complexity of like the game of life. So it's similar. So you're going to know exactly how to play just by starting it up. Just by opening it up, you'll be able to play and learn the game. Almost like a video game. You know how there's no real rules that you read off. You just start playing and you hope that you're playing it right. But anyways, so I want it, if I'm going to have a rule sheet, which I will, I want it to have one page. I don't want a book. I don't like reading as much as I like playing. So the next one, number 7, is does your avatar, let's see, I changed this question. It's, does your avatar need it define a definite ending or have an open ending? So in Scrabble, it's some people could say it's an open ending to the game. You don't know exactly when it's going to end. It's basically when you run out of tiles, and it could be as many points as possible. Or do you want it as like an adventure game, like in a video game, where you have to have a certain ending, a place of ending, or the game of life? So like, I guess Monopoly, you don't know where it's going to end. The actual ending is when someone runs out of cards or gives up. So in this, does your avatar want an open ending, or does he want a defined ending, a location of an end of the game? And for me, I said a defined ending. They want to be able to match up and get the most points or money or such. And that will come up with a little bit later as we go through this design phase. Do they need a storyline for the game or just the rules? Because it's an adventure game, it's nice to have a little storyline. But for like the game of life, it's not really necessary because it's your life. In game design, it's your game. So there's no really rule or story that needs to be behind it. But in some games, like a video game, you're going to want to have a large storyline at the beginning so they know what kind of story they're coming into before they shoot up the aliens that took over the world or such. The zombies that took over the, because of Armageddon and the whole end of the world, zombies came out. How'd that happen? You start playing the game, you're going to have fun, but you really want a storyline to get them going, to start them. Zombicide, all these different games. There's an actual storyline beforehand that gets you excited to play the game. And the last part is for packaging purposes, just packaging purposes, how would they want to store it? So most likely they're not going to want parts and pieces like the game of Magic. It's parts and pieces, and you put them into a binder or you put them into a box. Now they want an actual box to come with it. So in my game, according to my customer avatar, he's going to want an actual physical box that he can pick up and he can store on the shelf, and then you pull down and play it and then put it back on the shelf. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, moving on. The next section, and so down here, you're going to actually get the top 10 list of things basically right here. Game design mistakes. It's things you don't want to go through, and it's by Dice Tower, which is one of the number 1 gaming reviewers in the whole world. And that's more of a podcast / social group that get together. They've done some of my work. They've reviewed some of my stuff. It's great information that they have. Here's also some games that you can choose from. It's not made by F&R Lockwood, basically, because you have no more copies of their work. They're so old. These are interesting ones because in this interview, it talks about, 1, don't clone games that have been cloned forever, such as Apples to Apples. One of the games that has been cloned from Apples to Apples, it came Cards Against Humanity, and then Dexit. So don't clone a game just to clone a game. Like if I'm saying I want my game to be similar to like the game of life, I'm not going to clone life. I'm not going to do the same things that life has. I'm going to make it completely different, similar in some parts, but as much different as possible to make it so you don't feel like you're playing the exact same game. as you're playing when you're playing the game of life. Okay, now going on to the activity, designing your game. As I promised you, week 3, we're designing your game. So coming into here, and again, all this information, all these questions can be found in your journal, which will be given to you separately. It will not be in this form, but I wanted to let you see it while I'm presenting it in the video. Okay, designing your game. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to have you go through a step-by-step process of figuring out what your game is going to be like. And as I said, I've gone through all these assignments, and in your game design journal, it's right here. Now I'm going to try to make these a little bit more artistic, a little bit better looking. As of right now, they're very simple, but they'll get you through the process and get you exactly what you want, a well-designed and structured game. Okay, so coming to the design your game. First question, what game medium will you use? Okay, I said I want a board game with miniatures and a roll-up board. So you know, with Historical Conquest, with a lot of games that are out there now, especially card games, you have roll-up mats. I don't like board games for one reason. It's that they get destroyed. Water destroys them. Being bent the wrong way. All these different things destroy their games. I didn't want to do that, so I want mine to be on a roll-up mat. One of the play mats that you'd play with a card game. You can roll it out. If you spill water on it, you spill juice on it, soda on it, you throw it in the wash, it comes out a brand new mat. Now don't do that too many times because it will start wearing out on the sides. But let's see. The next one is, how high of quality do you want to make it? And I said high quality equals $signs. Yes, so high quality, it does make it $signs, but in this day and age, it looks like the trend is going towards being epic and just eye-catching. Just the point of when someone sees it, they see it and want to play it. So right now, it's almost to the point where you have to have that. Anything from the laughter that comes from exploding kittens to Zombicide. I mean, total detail in Zombicide. Those illustrations actually cost a lot of money. The figurines in that game as well. All these different things, it's going towards the more detailed and the more epic in illustrations. Okay, so the next one is, what is the topic of your game? Again, as I did the spoiler alert, our game, the game that we're going to design in this course, is going to be on game design. Yeah, it's a game design course, and we're going to be creating a game design game. That's going to be interesting. Let's see how far it goes. In the end, what if we basically say it's a junk game and we want to get rid of it? That's a good thing. As I said before, you might not come up with a game that's going to be a huge success. Don't worry about it. Really don't. Because when you find out that it's not a good success, you can go a certain amount of steps back. Because we have the course, you can go a certain amount of steps back and start from there and create a game that's epic and exactly what people want. But if you get to a point where you start making the game, you start spending thousands of dollars into it, and nobody likes it, I would have given you a disservice. I would have just stolen your money and said, hey, I don't care what happens to you. No, I do care what happens to you. I do care what happens to your game. I want you to create the most well thought out and structured game. That's what I keep promoting here. We're going to give you that. And so that's why we're going through all these different steps. Okay, so what length will the game be? I'm going to try to keep it under an hour. So the game of life, usually it's about a little bit less than an hour. That's what I want to be able to create. Will it be an adventure game, party game, point-based? Mine's going to be an adventure game, learning, because you're learning how to make games, also a little bit of party-ish. So I'm going to show you that little twist that I have in the further steps, but also you're going to be gathering points. It's almost like all of them, but very simplified. So it's not exactly an adventure game. You're not going to go kill zombies or anything like that. You're going through like the game of life, where you gather points, you're learning, that type of thing. Okay, next one, 6. Complexity. For my game, I want it simple because it's going to be similar to a game that you guys have already played, but at the same time complex in the way that there's a lot of different options and just not too simple. Not like some children's games, but like adult games. But I'll show you when it comes up, and actually we'll experience it together. Does it have to be colorful? How colorful will it be? More colors more eye-catching? Yes, it will be eye-catching. And I'm not a very good illustrator. I'm going to have other people design it for me. Number 8, how much are you willing to spend on development? Okay, now this is a good question. How much are you willing to spend in just developing the game? Problem for you is if you decide you just want to make video games are very expensive to create. Most of the time, it's made by a team of like 4 to 20 people, if not more. And you're not just paying for their work. If you know coding, great. It's going to take you a long time to produce the code to put a whole game together, depending on the complexity and the illustrations. So that's really expensive. Though if I did something on the paper product, it's going to be very inexpensive. And I'm able to get it out very quickly as well. Now, at the same time, I have to pay for every time I print it, which comes to question number 9. How much are you willing to spend in producing it, manufacturing? So I want to keep it as minimal as possible. So I'm going to keep it a paper product, minus the mats that I want to be able to roll up. But at the same time, I have to realize that if I don't have a video game, with a video game, after you get the bugs out, it's evergreen. It continues to go into new systems, and you don't have to manufacture anything over and over again. Because especially now, they don't have box games. It's very rare that you're going to find box games. Maybe you'll find a DVD in or not a DVD, a game CD. Somehow the name's misplaced the name. But in a case, in a plastic case, and that's it. Yes, you might have to produce that. Most of the time, games are online. You're going to download them. You're going to play them. There's no manufacturing whatsoever after you produce the video game. So it's expensive in design and development, but it's really cheap when it comes to producing and manufacturing it. So that's some things to know. Okay, so now that we know about this, if you want to learn a little bit about card design, this guy is really, really into it. He's actually really intense into his love for cards. And so he'll go through that a little bit. But go through your journal this week and fill out the questionnaire. I want you to get a handle on, and I don't want you just blowing through this and not thinking through it. Because again, we're trying to create a well-designed, well-thought-out, well-structured game. And the only way we're going to do that is to give it time. I could give you this whole course, bam, 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 day after day until it's all done. And you could rush through it and have a game. And because it's not well thought out, it fails every time. Or you can take your time, take the next week till the next Wednesday when we meet, and actually go through it, Wednesday or whichever day you choose, and go through all these questions. And then go after the questions again. This is not like a class assignment where it doesn't really matter what your answers are as long as you answer them and you can get a grade. This one is your grade is the production of a game, is producing a game. So we want you to create the best game possible because this is your game. This is what you're designing. You're doing this for fun or you're doing this for a class. It doesn't matter because you're having fun with it. And so we want you to produce the best game possible. So take your time and just have fun. This is a fun process. It's game design. It's all about fun. So enjoy it. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks, guys. Take care. And guys and gals, take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.